High school.
Hi, I'm Tej Singh. I'm a senior at Stanford Online High School, and I conduct interviews as a contributor for the Huffington Post. We'll begin our journey of Cheddar Biscuits with our first guest ever, Steve Huffman, Reddit's CEO and co-founder. Mr. Huffman, you have a very special honor for being our first guest. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Hey, guys.
Hi.
For the viewers who don't know, can you give us a brief summary of what Reddit is and how you differentiate yourself from other social media platforms?
Sure. So Reddit is basically home to thousands of communities that range over just about any interest you can think of, whether it's...
Can I have your attention, please? We have a special visitor today, Tej. And what's your last name, Tej?
Singh.
Tej Singh, who is at high school, online high school at Stanford University.
Yeah.
Which means, well, Sage is here. Where do you live?
Central Jersey.
Central Jersey. Well, he is in Central Jersey. He is online every day going to high school at Stanford University, high school extension or whatever it's called. So Tej also has a side business, which is interviewing people in business. And he's got some Huffington Post. Where else are you on?
We're reaching out later, but right now it's a YouTube channel. Now it's a Huffington Post.
YouTube channel, Huffington Post series. So I agreed to be interviewed by Tej. So he is our visitor of the day. Tej.
It's awesome. It's such a pleasure being here.
Why don't you speak to the team then and tell them that? It's just...
Hello. Can everyone hear me?
Louder.
Can people hear me?
Yes, they can. All 1,200 people can hear you.
Wow, this is amazing. So one of the questions for the interview was, is there any memory you had in high school that has stuck with you, or that it still impacts you today?
Well, that's a great message to the different people who work for Century 21. What's your advice for millennials or students in general?
I love working with young people, and in fact, I'm a big brother to a kid who's a sophomore in high school now. He and I have been matched through Big Brothers Big Sisters since he was 6 years old, so since he was in the first grade. Now he's in the 10th grade. He's a football player. He's located here in New Jersey. And, my message to him is follow your heart.
So I was, I read an interesting Forbes article, I told you about this before. And one thing that, it was so interesting reading about, Michael's and how your industry is run. And so an interesting thing was they talked about coloring books, now adult ones. They brought in $40 million in revenue last year. That's a new trend. And Rainbow Loom, it was a product a couple of years ago that brought in $100 million. So it seems like your industry really, values these type of trends, and they make a lot of profit off that. So how is that a challenging thing to guess, what people will like a couple of months from now, and how does that process work?
Yeah, well, our business is really about creativity. So we sell in an average store more than 40,000 different items. And they're all items that you can put together to create whatever you have in your imagination. So the items that you just talked about, coloring books and Rainbow Loom, are just a couple of those items that really became very hot. So they became very trendy. And yeah, we are very good at finding those trends and being able to bring it to our customers. But our business is a lot bigger and a lot more interesting.
And Forbes is constantly innovating because, now that people are on mobile and desktop, a big challenge for publishers is ad blockers. But Forbes is on the cutting edge, and they're on the forefront, along with Wired magazine, that require people to turn off ad blockers just to even access the content. So what do you see as the future of revenue? Will it come from, turning off ad blockers, or are you starting to, get money from other sources?
Well, ad blockers simply underscore the drive for what we call commoditization of the web. That is, if you don't have something that people feel is of value, they're not going to do anything to go to you. So,
is there something you wish the education system of today taught that it currently doesn't?
I think we become very technological and relational. So I see a lot of the younger generation dealing a lot with technology, and sometimes I worry whether the human relations and may be put to a side. So I think interactions are very important at the workplace and in life, and so I would hope that would be maintained.
Yeah, it makes sense. Did people take you seriously as a 12-year-old, or what type of job did you do at the shoe department?
No, they didn't take me very seriously, but they, they recognized that I was the boss's kid, so people were nice to me. And the department managers that I worked for, they liked having me because they didn't have to pay for it. It didn't come out of their selling costs. My dad paid me out of his pocket when I first started, which is probably against the law now, but that's the way we did it back then.
So you didn't get any commission? I'm just kidding.
No, I did not. Well, I started selling shoes when I was 16, and that's when I started getting commission, and that's right.
And so it seems like even with that such of a high number, there still is immense potential for growth as India is an emerging market. What sector of your company do you think holds the most potential for growth, whether it be movies or television or a Root app, which is you just released? It allows for on-demand viewing of shows and movies.
Yeah. India in media sector as well, Tej, like in many other sectors, has enormous potential for growth, and there are huge tailwinds because we are under-indexed on everything.
Now, you have quite an impressive list of like accomplishments. You have various product lines, how-to videos, a line at Target, a daily blog. You've written 3 books. You're a consultant, a keynote speaker. The list just never seems to end. How did you get started in this entire business? And what was your break?
Well, it's definitely been a long process. I left New York, where I was working at the time, moved back to Philly, which is where I'm from, and I was looking for a new job. And I couldn't find what I was looking for, so I started freelancing, and I also started a blog. And this is back in 2005 when there weren't really a ton of blogs out there.
Talking about VR, New York Times also had a huge NYT VR app. So it seems like it's going in that direction. And Mike is not only innovating the types of journalism it has, but also advertising. Now you have branded content, sponsored content. It's a new type rather than just all banner ads. So is that something that's playing a key role in your
Definitely, yeah. And look, brands are coming to Mike because we have a very premium audience of educated millennials, and we have a big audience of educated millennials. And brands are starting to innovate, and they're starting to tell stories in video and tell stories in new ways, and recognize that this sort of just the display ad of the past is not necessarily always the most effective way to reach our audience.
Thanks for the invitation.
A lot of students are becoming interested in pursuing tech entrepreneurship after college. So what is MIT doing to attract those students, since they might be good at math and science, but not necessarily interested in hardcore engineering? Because MIT does have a great business school, but a lot of the time the perception people still have is that it's a heavily science-based school instead of in business.
Yeah, it is interesting about these perceptions, and I know we'll talk about them as we go through. I mean, MIT has one of the most active and vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystems around. The space.
How could you not be? And so you're talking about what to do in the gap year. A lot of students, just in general, are, because of the way the world is shaped, that it's becoming easier and easier to have tech startups because everything can be done through the cloud. And so, what is Stanford's opinion of people, students doing these bigger projects and having less time to have more extracurriculars?
Well, I think that's okay. Again, this has to do with intellectual vitality and passion. If you're creating something, you're creating it for the pure joy of it, not for the fact that you're already at 17 wanting to be a .com billionaire.
Looking back, if you could spend 10 extra hours a week as a high schooler doing a particular activity or anything, does something come to mind? Or if you had extra time, would you have done something
different? The only thing that I regret is that I didn't learn a language more, because at the technical high school, you only have 2 languages. I had English and German. But in other high school program, you could have a 3rd language.
And it's clear that you've defied heavy odds not once, but numerous times in your long, famed, and successful career. If you were to put a finger on one aspect of your personality that has lifted you to national prominence, what would it be?
I think it's one of the things that I do that may be a little unusual, but it's really quite simple, is I engage in what's called a best-worst analysis. When something
relating to this, I just had a quick question. One startup you're involved is Misfit Wearables. So what do you think is the future of wearables?
Well, here's how I think about it. I always look at a big market, particularly commoditized markets, because wearables are a young market, but they're already commoditizing. There are literally thousands of companies selling wearable activity trackers.
So now we're at our this or that segment. Would you rather have one wish granted today or 3 in 10 years?
One wish granted today.
Crushed ice or cubed ice?
Cubed.
Pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
Would you rather be able to read everyone's mind all the time or know their future?
Wow, that's a good one. Read their mind.
Would you rather win an Olympic medal or an Academy Award?
That's tough. I think I'd rather win an Academy Award.
Online shopping or shopping in a store?
Shopping in a store.
Facebook or Twitter?
Facebook.
CEO of any company other than Lyft? Are you going to say Uber? Just kidding.
No, definitely not, but good one. I might say Airbnb.
So our last question, coffee, tea, or smoothies?
Definitely smoothie. I'm not a caffeine, coffee, or tea drinker.